All right, welcome back to another episode of Bootstrapping to Billions. We're kicking off our limited series where this is the pre-exited stories, where we're talking to folks that went on and acquired businesses. We're going to extract the live, learn lessons of that story. We're going to get into the heart of the integration, where the business is today. Today, we have with us Zack. Appreciate you for joining us. Welcome to the pod, Bootstrapping to Billions.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
All right. So this is going to be a boots on ground episode. We're flipping it up a little bit. So we're gonna learn this together, right? This is going to do it live type of thing for sure. But I want to get the audience read in on the story early and often. You've already done some other podcasts. You were on acquiring minds where the story was told. So they can also go check that out because it was an awesome episode. And you have a killer story. The story started, you're a Navy guy.
Mm-hmm.
You realized, hey, like maybe I want to be a small business owner. I want to buy a business. You went to BizBuySell. You found a business. You did the deal. You're now in the heart of the deal. That deal was done in 2025. We're about 18 months in. It started Jeff Masters Electric. We are today in the middle of the heart of a killer rebrand, which we were just talking about. Green Room, pre-screen. We'll link to everything so that the audience can also check out a little bit of teaser. You should probably click. In terms of what we're going to get into today, we're going to talk about the find it, the fund it, the integrate it, the live, learn lessons that you learned in this experience over the last 18 months. So the audience listening, pay it forward, can avoid some of those pain. There's always hair on the deal. And we're going to talk about maybe the next one too. So this could be a little bit of a teaser episode. You're going to literally apply the live, learn lessons to yourself. Zack, welcome to the pod. Take us on back. Before we get into it, I'm thinking like a high level overview of background, just so folks can know where you're coming from doing this deal, because it's like, was this guy, where did he come from, Harvard? Like, how's he buying businesses? Like, let's give a breakdown there so the audience can relate early and often, live vicariously through your story. Kick us on off, man.
Yeah, man. That was a great intro. Thanks. Solid. Accurate. So you're right. I started Navy. I was in the Navy, got out in 22. While I was in, I did 2 deployments. And while I was on deployment, I got into real estate. I read a bunch of books. So when I got back, I bought properties. I got up to 6 properties. I got out. I worked in private equity for like commercial real estate for a little bit. Didn't like that. Went back to what I knew. Worked on generators for a couple of years for CenturyLink. I was making good money. Freaking awesome job. Amazing people to work with. I love that company. It was great. Perfect job by all means, but it wasn't mine. It wasn't my business. I wanted to own a business. I've always wanted to. Don't know why. Everybody said I was stupid because I had an amazing job and like great life. But yeah, just I was getting that itch, man. So I did what everybody would do: Google businesses for sale. Like, you go to BizBuySell, and I saw them, like, it's like Zillow. You know what I mean? It's just listed, and I saw this one. It's been listed for several months. I peruse BizBuySell all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's still for sale. You know, it's like, that's suspicious. Why is it still for sale? You know what I mean? But this one had probably on there for like 9 months, a year maybe. But the numbers were great, and I was like, all right, if I hit up this broker and he calls me back, I'm gonna do it. And then he called me back, and I said, you know what? I told myself I was gonna do it, but do it. So I just went through with it, and I figured it out as I went. It took 9 months to close the deal. I figured out how to do SBA loans and all this good stuff. A lot of paperwork, a lot of going back and forth with lawyers, but I just took it one step at a time. I didn't get overwhelmed, and every day was another battle, but it was like, this is what I'm doing. Not going to back down. You know what I mean? So we got to
dig it, dude.
Yeah.
Everything starts somewhere, right? This conversation started with the ability to just find it. You went to BizBuySell, you did the deal. Like, there's something to that, probably double click in the fact of like the itch of ownership. Right. And maybe for the audience, the first thing to extract, because you're in a killer role. Like, you didn't have to do this. You didn't have to get into this life and do this thing and do the crazy thing, right? That everyone's warning you not to. Yeah. But you had this itch. And it was like this itch of ownership. There's also, a true sense of pride of ownership for sure. It's a very real thing. And you gotta, elevate, celebrate that, respect it for sure. You're in it. For folks listening that may have that itch, is it worth it? Should they scratch?
I think so, man. I think so. It's super fulfilling. I used to, ponder what if, like, I should be doing more type stuff. And it's kind of me doing it. Like, I don't have those thoughts anymore. So I'm doing it, And my wife and I both quit our jobs. She was working in Miami. 10 years at the same company. She quit. We moved over here. So she's in it too. She's in the next office over. So we're
Killer.
both doing it, you know?
All
And
in.
yeah, all in.
Dude, so talking about being all in and going back into that moment of time where you were getting in, you found the deal. You said that if the broker was going to get back in touch with you, you're going to do this thing,
Yeah.
right? That happened. Folks listening are maybe in that exact moment in time. Like they're listening to you. They're like vicariously living through. They're like, hey, like I was last night clicking on BizBuySell. Like I'm perusing it like it's Zillow, right?
Yeah.
I found something. What are the things? Because if we break down this story in terms of like the find it, the fund it, and then the integrated type of thing and extract the live, learn lessons, first thing, everything starts somewhere on the find it side. What are some of these live, learn lessons that you would tell folks, pay it forward, do it
Yeah.
slightly different, or something that you learn just works?
So Brandon Turner, he's a podcaster and stuff, but he's a real estate guy. He has a saying, it's kind of his mantra of like, just do the next smallest thing. Like, what's the next thing you can do that's the smallest thing? And though over time that becomes a big thing, right? So the next first thing I could do was just go on BizBuySell. What's the next thing you do? Type an email to the broker. And he's like, wait, next day, send that email. The next day, call. Like, you don't have to do everything at once. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. Just do step by step, but do that. And talk to the broker. And you could talk to a million of them, right? You don't have, there's no law you have to get in bed with any of these, but check out the financials. Like you might see something that's like, whoa, this is right up my alley. That's kind of what happened when he called me. Is in my head, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it if he calls. And he called and he told me kind of the gist of it. Hey, this guy's retiring. He's Coast Guard. He works there with his wife. It's in Florida, reoccurring people for decades. And I'm like, boom, 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 hitting everything, right? So that was, it lined up as I was going to do it. And then also he's saying all these things that sound great. Let's just do it. So then we rolled into the financials and, the rest is history.
Talking about the buy box, did you have your buy box going in? Was it more of like an intuitive thing? If you were to go back into it and structure the deal or, relive the experience for folks listening, how formal, how structured, how specific would you get early and often? Right, putting together your specific buy box as you're looking through and you're screening through deals, and it's like there's a million frogs to find that prince type of thing. Talk about that for a sec.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's unique to everybody. It depends on their risk profile. If you want to go start something, bootstrap it, no money, I understand that fully. I was in the camp of I want to start a few years ahead. I want to just hit the ground running. So I bought something. It was 1.7 million roughly purchase price. And I fit that. That was like right in my buy box. I was between 1 and 2.5 million. That was kind of what I was thinking. I didn't want something too small because I read a lot of books and I learned that things over 1 million are safer, surprisingly, right? Because they have larger customer set and they have more marketing, whatever it is, makes sense. But it is a big nut. So there's, my loan's like 20 grand a month. That's something you got to cover. That's something you need to have a plan for. Don't be like, oh, the old cash flow is going to cover it. I'm not going to change anything. Don't expect that to be the case. Like things change. Have a business plan. Have 10 business plans because things change, right? And you got to pivot every week. That's really what it is. But
Mike Tyson.
Yeah. I'd say it depends on the person, but for me, it was like between 1 and 2.5. So it was right there in the sweet spot.
When you were looking at it though, was it, did you have to have a specific type of geography, a specific type of business, specific type of service, specific type of client base?
Kinda. Yeah. I was looking for something electrical in Florida that wasn't too far, maybe a few hours. So I didn't have any hard lines of anything. I was just trying to, seeing what's out there. There was generator businesses for sale. I was looking at those too because I'm a generator guy. So I figured if I did if I bought a generator business, I would incorporate the electrical. If I got the electrical business like I do now, I'm going to incorporate the generators.
So you saw that no matter what, and you saw the ability to. So one thing was going to be the wedge, and you were going to get in. You were going to essentially buy the base, right? You're buying the book, and then you're going to build from that, and that's going to essentially be the story that we're putting together. 1.5 to 2.5 because you wanted enough of revenue to be able to cover everything. You wanted to be able to safety net. You wanted to be able to pay yourself, pay your wife, right? Be able to, cover the employees, have some margin of safety. Let's talk about like actually funding the deal, right? So you ended up going SBA, right?
Correct.
This was a $1.7 million purchase. How detailed are you comfortable getting in terms of like the actual financials and everything? If you were to break it down for us and look at it at a sheet of paper, like look at it as a one pager in a sense.
Yeah.
Let the audience live vicariously through like underwriting this thing. What's it like doing the deal?
I love that part, the finances. I love the nitty gritty. So like I said, I had real estate. A buddy of mine owns some real estate, and we sold it together. I used those proceeds. When you are looking for a business, the broker's going to say, we want to see money. We want to make sure that you are legit. So show us proof of financials. That's something I was in the process of selling my properties. And so I had them finally. Excellent. You won't be able to do a deal without, they're not going to take you seriously unless you have some investors coming in, whatever it is. You need it. You need money. So I sold that, got a little over 100 grand. It took maybe like 15 grand with like lawyers and stuff like that. But the actual down payment was 83.5. So it was a 5%. And then the seller brought 5% on his end. So he brought 83.5. 3 months into the deal, after we closed, I bought him out after the transition phase. So
Hmm.
I bought his 5% and then I owned it 100%. But
And that got you to the 10% threshold for the SBA,
exactly, the SBA
right?
7A loan means you got to have 10%. Some people say you could do zero, but my SBA people are like, no, you need to put 5% in. They're like, we don't care. We don't want to see 100% seller finance. They're not comfortable with that. The SBA is pretty strict, man.
Hmm.
They don't mess around. If you want an SBA loan, they're going to look at your report cards from elementary school. Like they're going to make sure that you're going to pay them back, because they're putting their face on the line for the bank. Because
Dude,
you don't.
take us through that process. Let us live, let the audience live. Like,
Mhm.
why is only 27% of SBA loans closed? Why is only 20% getting over the finish line?
Yeah.
Let's talk about your experience, personal live learned experience. Somebody listening, they may be intimidated
Mhm.
to even like press go and start because they don't know what it's like on the other side and they hear these things. What was your experience like?
Yeah, I would say do it. Just find the right people. Like I had really good lender. I had a good SBA like liaison. She walked me through everything that I had questions about. It was great. But they want you to know what you're doing. Like they want to know that you have been in this industry before. You do have some experience. They want to know your plan, your business plan. They want to see financials. They're like, what's your plan? What are you going to do? How are you going to make money? Right? They want to know everything, and that's fair because the SBA is this organization, government ran, that says, hey, we're going to guarantee you. So you get a loan from the bank, but it's an SBA loan. So the SBA is saying, you know what? If he doesn't pay, we'll pay for it, which is crazy. So they're very strict. They don't want to just give money to anybody because it's really the only source of capital a lot of people have. Like I could,
Hmm.
probably couldn't get just a regular loan like that, and the interest rate would be astronomical. So
Hmm.
SBA 7A was a lifesaver. But honestly, you don't need to know too much. Just do it and figure it out as you go. That's what I did. I don't even remember many of the underwriting things, but it's just one document after the next. It's not,
Do the next smallest
yeah,
thing.
do the next thing.
So let's talk about how long the process took in terms of doing the next smallest thing. Let's talk about breaking it down from
Mhm.
finding the deal, getting the deal under contract, and then working through financing to get to the actual close and the sign.
Mhm.
How long did that process actually take you from start to finish? And
Yeah.
then, each of the sections, like how did each stage break down
So
for
the
the folks
entire
listening?
the entire purchase took 9 months. I really think it could be like a month and a half, but it was a lot of me emailing their lawyer. The lawyer waits 3 weeks to respond, and then
Hmm.
they respond. One of those things, right? So I'm sitting
Hmm.
on my hands, like I'm tied. I can't do
The
anything.
uncontrollables.
It is the uncontrollable. So that stuff does take time. There's times where the SBA, the bank, they take your information, like when they underwrite loans and stuff, and you have no long, you don't know how long that's going to take. It could be weeks, could be days. You don't know. So there's a lot of those. There's a lot of like, hey, we need this. We're going to review it. We'll let you know, right? And then it's the LOI going back and forth with the seller, the broker, and lawyers. And you're kind of like this person in between. There's brokers, there's the seller, there's your lawyer, there's their lawyer, and for me, it seemed like I cared the most. So I'm the one calling all these people, being the middleman.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, like, "Well, you talk to them, you talk to them." It's like, dude, don't you want to make your money? Like, am I the only one that cares? But that kind of seemed, you got to do it. I had to do it to close it, so it's fine. But probably that the lawyer thing with the contracts took the longest,
Yeah.
and then SBA probably took a couple months. But it didn't have to be long. It really didn't.
Yeah, next go around and realistically, dude, I mean, first go of it, quite literally doing the next smallest thing, working through the process and being comfortable enough to be uncomfortable pulling the trigger, accepting the unknowns through it, and then navigating. I'd say 9 months is a win for sure, without a doubt. right? We made it through this journey. We're 9 months in. Hindsight, retrospective, 2020, right? Life's a real thing. What are the things that you would do differently the next time? Maybe
Mm.
like structuring the deal or
Mhm.
how how you actually purchase, etc.
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, I would do an asset purchase, not a stock purchase. So there's two ways you could buy business. Stock purchase is just like you buying shares of Apple on Robinhood. You bought into the company in a share form. I would have bought, I did buy 95 shares. I had to do that form of purchase. The other is an asset purchase where let's say I form an S Corp and I take his business and I put it into my entity. That's a whole new business. That's a different business. But what I did is stock purchase is I bought into the existing business that stayed the same. So the issue there with this deal specifically was because months after I closed, there was issues with this existing business that I didn't know, like
Mhm.
lawsuits. I'm currently involved in 2 lawsuits. Didn't know of either one of them before we closed the deal, and who knows if I would have done it if I did know about it. But here we are with it, and it's something I'm dealing with. It's not crazy, but it is something I got to deal with.
Mhm.
It's just wild. But I wouldn't have had that issue if I did an asset purchase
Mhm.
because it's not the same business. I don't know how those lawsuits would have gone, but it wouldn't have been my problem.
Yeah, it was
The
just carried forward with him.
the
Yeah.
being
So
required.
in one situation, you're carving out the assets, you're creating an inventory of the assets in which you're acquiring, and you're quite literally going to be using a new entity, a fresh entity, something that you're setting up that you have ownership of, that's clean and siloed, and you're going to capitalize that, and then you can use that capital to acquire that list of inventory of assets, and the deal gets done. Asset purchase agreement. You're saying next go around, that's what we're going to do. This go around, it was a full equity purchase. You're buying out exactly what's already existing in the business, including the carry forward of the liabilities that may or may not exist. And in this situation, there were a couple of lawsuits that are coming out in the end of liability. Did you get to ring fence any risk in the deal? Did you get to price those liabilities in? Did you get to ring fence risk? Or are you quite literally like just dealing with this stuff on the backside?
Now I'm just dealing with it. I
Yeah,
forget.
right. Talk about, dude, paying it forward to the audience, man, which we have to appreciate, right?
Yeah.
Because quite literally, it takes somebody to do it, to be able to share it,
Hmm.
to be able to have other folks learn from it. You are literally going through this right now, live, learn, lesson. So earmarking that asset purchase instead of liability, instead of equity,
Yeah.
which allows you to carve out the liabilities. In terms of the asset purchase, that would also help you inventory quite literally what else is coming into the deal.
Yeah.
Any other like live learn lessons from how you yeah.
Straight inventory, like inventory, material, vans, all of this stuff to get a detailed report. Get a very detailed report. So all the vehicles, get the maintenance on them. Have a mechanic look at them because when I came in, I don't know how many thousands of dollars I had to spend in the first month fixing all of these vehicles that maybe have been neglected for a while, because they knew they were selling a business theoretically.
Mm,
But that was one. The material is another. It's a little vague. I don't know how other deals are structured. My deal was structured where it said this much money is for, I think it was like 7,500 or yeah, was for material, but it was not specific. And
like what material? Yeah.
yeah, I got a
Yeah.
list of furniture, computers, stuff like that. That was like office stuff, but not specific to material. And when I came in, I realized there was none. It's like, oh, I didn't really get anything. I got a couple PVC fittings, you know what I mean? It wasn't much. And I didn't really get any tools. And so I had to order pallets, like 3 pallets or something first 2 weeks of ownership, all wire and stuff like you should probably just have, like
Mhm.
every running electrical business would just have, but I didn't get it. And I would have known if I had a list, basically.
Mhm.
So I would get a very detailed report of what you're getting. Very
Yeah,
detailed.
so quite literally like live learn lesson here, man, which we appreciate. Like the way you do the deal is the way in which you approach the deal, and doing an asset purchase as you approach that deal differently from the beginning in a more accountable, structured way where it doesn't leave you holding the bag on the backside for things like coming out of pocket,
Yeah.
thinking like I'm taking over this this business that's running for what was it, like 30 years or something,
Yeah.
right? Like this thing was established. You were buying an established book of business with a good story behind it. And you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna come in as turnkey, let me keep it going, only to find out that there's, some back end holes that need to be plugged with this thing called cash.
Mhm.
What about from the financing, the structuring thing? Is there anything that you would reapproach in terms of so that was like kind of the find it, but from the funded perspective?
Fund it for sure. I'd get more working capital for sure. I just took whatever I was advised. I got 150 grand. So I got okay, so I got 75 grand from the bank and then 75 grand in receivables. I was told to get the receivables. I could have had the option to just get 150 from the bank, but I got 75 and 75 because they said, hey, it's going to be complicated after you close. If you don't buy the receivables from them, you're going to be like, oh, whose is this? Is this his? Is this mine? I was like, that makes sense. All right, let's do it. After we closed, I bought the receivables. They weren't all good. I know at least one, she filed bankruptcy several months before, you know, they knew, but I still bought it. What's my recourse? Yes, he signed something saying whatever, but am I going to take him to court over it? No, it's just ridiculous. So that's that. I would do that. And working capital is so important. It takes so much more money to run business than you think, especially if you're going to start advertising that they didn't use to advertise. That's a huge expense you didn't have. You're rebranding. That's a whole thing. It's a whole thing to do that. Get new vehicles and wraps and all that stuff. Just get more money, have that cushion. A lot of businesses fail because of undercapitalization. And it's just an easy fix, Just don't do that. You don't have to use all of it. It could be a line of credit. It could be something that you don't need to have cash, but I would have done that for sure. I would have got more money.
Like a jacket, it's like I'd rather have it and be able to take it
Yeah.
off than need it and not have it type of thing.
Yeah.
It's that coverage, that allows you to be able to fill any holes that may or may not
Totally.
exist. Sorry to hear about that in terms of the receivables and what's going on there, but you're not alone. Like for sure, it's a common thing that happens all the time in deals that are getting done. And because you're sharing it on today's episode, hopefully there's somebody maybe listening right now in the audience, like literally in this exact moment in time. And because you just shared that, they can maybe avoid that.
Yeah.
And you just saved and paid it forward. And if that's the case, I hope that person shows a little bit of appreciation and reaches out and says thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Because it does matter and life's a real thing. And it's a long journey. You got to do the right things all the way through, especially in the deals in which we're doing too. And so as we're getting into this, we talked about find it. We talked about asset purchase. We talked about getting clear scope of acquisition in terms of the inventory, what we're acquiring. We talked about funding in terms of working capital, right? In the way in which we're structuring this. What else about maybe like on the capitalization side or like diligence of the deal side or the revenues of the financing? Like what other types of live learn lessons have you been able to pick up that you would plug in the next time that you go about it from find it, finance it, and then the take it over aspect?
I would probably vet the receivables a little bit more, not the receivables you're purchasing, but the receivables that have already been. So the money that's went into the bank, where's that money coming from? Check the receipts, see, hey, this year was a spike. What happened this year, right? So for us, we have hurricanes here and it's an obvious trend whenever a hurricane comes. It's a spike in revenue because electrical goes down, people's things get messed up. Sadly for us, it's a good thing for our business, hurricanes. So that there's certain indicators that make sense, but you still want to see, how are you making your money? Check if there is any concentration in customers. So there was a little bit more concentration than I was told. There was none. No, it was all service work mainly, but there was a fairly large contractor that we were doing work for. We no longer do work for, and they were doing several houses a month, which we don't have anymore. So these things are real. The customer concentration thing is a real thing. I would vet it a little bit more, Say, can I see your receivables? Let me see the check images in the bank account, whatever,
For the folks listening, it's like customer concentration, like why that matters. It's like, you're sitting here carrying the 20K nut, right? That's like something that's a consistent recurring thing. You're taking that on. Customer concentration, if they had, one customer that was significant portion of the revenue and that customer leaves, you're in a situation where you're still carrying everything forward without that revenue coming in. Less customer concentration. It's spread across a lot of folks. So diversification, not one thing is going to tilt the thing. And you're quite literally saying, flagging like, hey, you got to find that, but it's not even always evident. Like in some situations, it doesn't always show up. So really sink into this, guys. Like pay a little bit of attention and like do your proper level of deep dive diligence. When we were talking about like going through the deal, did you do a quality of earnings? Did you go through anybody from a professional service side?
Nope.
Is that something that even came up in any of the conversations or anybody asked you to do?
I thought about doing a quality of earnings, but I think I spoke to the broker or something. Obviously, right? The broker's getting paid by the seller, but it was more or less like, hey, this isn't really big enough. I mean, you can do it, sure. Is it worth it? I should have done one. I should have done one. I really don't even know what it cost, but whatever it was, it maybe would have been worth it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't really speak on it too much, but could have been good.
Yeah, dude, I think that's a real problem in our market for sure. And I think what you just shared is like commonalities across the board, and it kind of crushes to know that that's the case every single day
Yeah.
because it's something that just it's a CYA for folks that are taking on the responsibility, right? Because like ownership is a privilege for sure. We're in this situation is a privilege to be able to acquire something, to be able to get into a business in which we have ownership of, so that we can be able to continue to service customers and build something remarkable that hopefully also employs people, creates jobs, like does all of the right things in terms of like what economies and communities need. Like
Oh,
it's an amazing thing to be an owner of something. And then when it comes to times to like service the owner in this moment of time of need, which is like at that point of position, yeah, like things get outpriced because folks are trying to service the market and they're trying to make
mhm.
as much money as possible. It's not accessible, and then because of that, it's like we don't end up doing it, and you put folks that are taking on these things in a bad situation. So yeah, for sure, it's definitely a problem to be solved for in the market without a doubt, and most folks aren't, from what we're hearing in terms of the conversations. In terms of talking about additional diligence, right? So we talked about financial diligence, we talked about getting into the deal, talk about some of the things like woulda, coulda, shouldas, which there's always
Yeah.
them in life, right? And the fact that we're able to pay it forward again, help other folks avoid in the future. And then for ourselves also, because life is a very, long journey that
Hmm.
we're going to continue to live, right? Trust the process, commit to the journey, do more of, which I want to tie in terms of your journey too. And
Hmm.
this deal, where we are in terms of this deal, and maybe even the next one, right? Next thing that we potentially want to talk about is like taking this thing over. Like, what was it like actually getting the keys, right? So the deal's done. We found it. We financed it, right? We're now integrated. We're taking it over. What was it like from an experience of like 10 employees on team? Like literally, like you're now showing up, you know, 30 years later, there's a new guy in the seat. There's a new owner in town. What was that like emotionally and then also like logistically?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, one morning, it was Monday morning, got all the guys in the office. The old owner was sitting here. I'm sitting in a chair. And he's like, I sold the business to that guy. Everybody's like looking at me. He's like, hey guys, what's up? Like, I don't know. I don't even know their names. They're looking at me sideways, understandably. This guy didn't tell him anything. This guy's branded for 40 years. They all have a close relationship with him. They saw him, I think, as a father figure, several of them. And a lot of them felt a little bit betrayed that he didn't say anything. But I do understand his side, because if he did say something and three people left, that's 30% of the workforce. The deal may have never even closed
Mhm.
because he told them. Right. So
Mhm.
it's a tricky and precarious situation. I don't know what the right answer is. I really don't, but maybe telling them would be the right answer. But day one was tricky. And then I wanted to be in the field with my guys. I wanted to be in the field at least 3 to 4 weeks to get to know them before I did anything in the office. So I rode with them in the vans and I was their helper. I just, kept my mouth shut while we're doing work. They're teaching me things and I got to know them. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get to know them before anything. I know how it is. I know how it is to be in the field, blue collar. I'm the boss. You're going to have to listen to this guy. You don't trust him or respect him. Like, you got to know them first, you know?
Mhm.
But day one, no work. There was just nobody's calling. And that persisted for several months. We had a 3-month turnover with the sellers. It was him and his wife. And it was a terrible turnover. After a couple weeks, it just fizzled to like, all right, I'm just gonna like, you know, do my own thing, you do your own thing. Because it just wasn't working. We're button heads arguing. And I think he had a hard time selling it. He ran it forever and retiring, and probably hard for him to do that. So I don't know if that was what it is. But it was yeah, man. I would vet the seller a little more. Like, who are you getting it from? Check the reviews, because I didn't. There's some bad reviews. I can't get a new Yelp account. They won't give it to me because we're the same business. If we were a new business asset purchase, I can get a new Google profile, Yelp, whatever. But we're the same business, and there's some really bad reviews about very specific people over and over and over. And it's hard to shake that. I've gone to people that don't want to work with us and say, hey, man, new owner, give us a shot. And it's worked a little bit, but there's still, check the reputation for the business, get your feelers in the city, because there's mixed feelings. here, and a lot of people don't even know it's sold. It's a big campaign to tell people, hey, this 40-year-old business has changed
Yeah.
names. It's a whole thing. We get a lot of work from stickers in our panels. This guy's been doing panels for 40 years. People will call us from a sticker from 1987, and it's still in great condition because nobody opens panels.
Yeah.
So it's the same phone number. We're going to get calls 30 years in the future.
It's where the work lives.
Old still. I get it. It's a thing. But we had no business. I didn't have a plan. That's another thing. Create a backup plan for your business. If the model that you think is going on, if that doesn't work out, what are you going to do? What's the plan? What's the alternative? Not to say you have to do it, but you should have an idea of what you're going to do. Because for me, I just hit the ground running. I didn't know what to do. I've never been a business owner, so I just did everything and anything in my power. I stayed up and I wouldn't sleep. I figured it out. We did, we pulled through, and I even increased revenue 29% from the year before. But that's not to say it was easy. There was no calls. And still to this day, I've gotten pretty good at marketing, specifically like Facebook ads, Meta ads. So we get a lot of leads from different sources. I track all of our leads incoming, and we get, depending on the month, 10 to 25 are existing customers. Now, mind you, we got 6 lead guys right now, 6 vans. It's not a lot of jobs if you think of service work. 20 a month. Facebook is like 140, something like that. So what did I buy? I would vet that a little bit more. Say how many new customers are you getting? How many are reoccurring? What are the job? What's the average ticket? Right. All of these numbers. Get your average ticket. Get your close rate. Get your conversion rate. Get all of these numbers. And if he doesn't have them, you do it. I would really encourage you to do it, because you're gonna go in and you're gonna say, do you want to do this? What they've been doing, or do you want to do something new? And the only way to figure that out is to run those numbers. Hey, how much money are we making per job? Is this type of job profitable? That's what I was doing for the first month. I was just Excel, man, just spreadsheets galore. And I learned a lot. I learned what to change, what not to change, which jobs we should focus on. But realistically, I should have done that before. I could have hit the ground running earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tuition, right? So it's like, what a coulda, shoulda. That's the tuition. And it's also what you're paying it forward to in terms of today's episode. In terms of moving forward, right? And taking this and compounding and building.
Yeah.
Right, what's the future look like? What's the plan in terms of this deal's done? We're 18 months in. We're in the middle of this integration, rebranding. We found our footing in terms of 27% revenue growth, which is absolutely amazing year. That means the trends are in the right direction. We're figuring this thing out. We have our base, right? Essentially everything that you need to be able to continue to build is there foundationally. What's the plan?
Yeah. So the soft plan is we started divisions. I'd like divisions here. So we have generator work, which is separate people, then service work. And then we're going to start building our new construction arm as well. We stopped doing new construction when we didn't have those customers anymore. We never really tried to get it again. So now I would like that. So we have someone that's kind of ahead of that division, that division. We're also the county's electrical contractor. So that might be like another thing. Most importantly, I need to find somebody that's an operations person. I need somebody to take my seat to do just the day-to-day, answer phone calls, run numbers, answer questions that everybody has, right? Just be the go-to guy. And then once I can do that, I can open up another location on the other side of the state. So we're on the Gulf side of Florida. Going to go to Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, open another location there because that's where we moved from. We want to move back home and kind of do the same thing, do the same brand. We maybe, switch up a couple of things because it's new and we can see what works without destroying anything. So maybe we'll switch up compensation types or whatever, but nothing crazy. The brand is going to be the same. And I think that's the big thing. It's the brand that's going to carry over. I would like several locations. The big thing is people, dude. It's the right people. I mean, more than anybody. That was the hardest thing that I think being a business owner, I didn't know about. I didn't know that being like a manager and operator was the difficult part was the people. I had no clue. And boy, by a factor of 10, to the second thing, it's so crazy. There's so much drama and it's a lot more work than you think. And finding good people is hard as well. So I want to grow, but it's about finding people, and I'm doing more social media. I meet people on TikTok, stuff like that. And I have found, actually, there's 2 guys here now. They found me on Instagram. So they work here now. I got good people coming from there. So hopefully.
That's cool. Legit inbound.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. People all the time. pretty cool, man. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect when I started, but it's working out. And then it's people. Once I can find the right people, I can open up and I can trust them. I would like to open up several. And then I just want everybody to make a bunch of money and kind of have a place where they can stay forever and that they enjoy. You know, that's the goal. I don't
Yeah.
really, yeah,
What's wrong with that, right? Quite literally, that's what, yeah, dude, that's what we say all the time. It's like, so, I mean, great people make
yeah,
great businesses, but people are oftentimes the number one constraint on a great business, right? But if you could find amazing people and then you could pay them right and you could position it as the place that's the most fulfilling thing that they could do with their life, then you keep great people for the longest period of time. My job is to make sure that nobody ever gets fired from their job
yeah.
because you got the right people in the right role doing amazing things for the customer at the end of the day, delivering delightful experiences. Dude, you are well onto your way. In terms of today, we appreciate you spending and sharing the story of your live, learn lessons, this journey that you're 18 months into, quite literally from the find it on Biz Buy Sell, which I'm sure there's folks right now quite literally listening to. They're probably up late last night doing that exact
Mm,
same thing. They're getting into the fact of like do the next smallest thing, which hopefully in terms of a lesson, in terms of today's story arc episode, it sounds like quite literally that's the thing that moved it forward. It was like, find the next smallest thing and do it. Just take
mm,
action, get it done, one foot in front of the next. We then talked about funding the deal, some of the things in which we learned of how we would approach it. We restructure in terms of an asset acquisition, in terms of the actual initial engagement, in terms of LOI, finding and making sure that there's a capital on the backside of the deal so that we have liquidity so that we can get to liquidity without losing control as
yeah.
we continue to grow the deal. And then we talked about betting the quality of earnings and making sure the receivables are where they need to be in terms of what we're financing and stacking and funding around. We talked about the diligence continuing into the people, specifically also the owner in which we're doing the deal with, the seller, but the folks that are coming into it that we need to build these meaningful relationships with because they're the people that are going to build a great business that we're going to continue to build on top of for many years to come in this thing that is life, which is a very long-lived journey. Dude, I appreciate you for taking the time today with us, investing the time with our audience. If there's anybody listening that could maybe pay it forward to you, what's the right thing that you would ask in terms of maybe where they could go, what they could do? Maybe it's something in terms of the socials that you're running. Maybe it's something in terms of people that you're looking for.
Mhm.
And maybe somebody could raise their hand if they're that right person for you
Yeah.
in the audience. Like, what's the wave the magic wand
Yeah.
moment?
We got Instagram and Facebook. It's Mutts Electric, MUTTS Electric. TikTok is Big Body Official. That's me. That's my nickname on the ship in the Navy. So that's what I took, kind of like my persona, right? But it's all the same stuff. It's all the same footage. And if you're an operator, hit me up. If you operated home service businesses, give me a call. Shoot me a DM. Love to hear it.
There you go. And that's the CTA. And that is the episode. Until next time, trust the process, commit to the journey. Zach, we appreciate you.
Thanks, bro.
And that's the pod. All right.